create, relate, erase the hate, our memories, these things we make, each stitch we take our time, we take each word, we make them rhyme, we on, we off, these flaws we fraud, 2 men that's all, to walk the dog, we tune, we zoom, the room, the loom, the birds, the boughs, the stars, the moon.
Hey everyone, summer's here, it's a lot hotter, trying to keep cool. What better way than to spend it stitching, right? So welcome to Stitching It, and today is going to be an update video about what I've been working on over the summer so far. I have been kind of experimenting with some seasonal stitching projects, every couple times a year, of course, do Christmas around Christmas, do some fall pieces in the fall, and ever since Memorial Day weekend I've been working on some patriotic stitching, which has turned out really good, and I've got 2 finishes so far, so I'm going to show them to you today, and also show you what else I've been working on. I actually don't have my first finish with me because I gifted it already. So I'll put a picture in while I talk about it a little bit. But this is one that I started over Memorial Day weekend, and I had gotten in a patriotic mood, so I found this simple design from the Sub Rosa design on Etsy. And it's called Land of the Free, and it stitched up pretty quickly, over Memorial Day weekend. I think I stopped stitching on it on Memorial Day and got back to it a couple days later and just finished it up real quick, So it went by pretty quickly. It was only 4 or 5 colors, I think, and it's stitched on 36 count linen, from Hand Dyed Happiness, called Honey, and I finished it very simply with as a sort of a it's not a flat fold, but I used the mounting process from Vonna Pfeiffer's mounted flat fold tutorial to do it, and then I just set it on a cute little a bracket easel, whatever they're called, and it turned out really cute and sort of primitive, I liked it. So for that I used the finishing fabric was from Color and Cotton, the Christmas mystery box. There was a piece of homespun that was in there, and I didn't care for it for Christmas, but it worked perfectly, I thought, for something real patriotic looking. So that turned out pretty good, and I was happy to give it to my mom. Now the second finish, I actually started this one right before the latest 24-hour cross stitch challenge that happened in June, and I got a lot of progress done on it. This is a design called Peace, Love, and Purpose by Plum Street Samplers, and I started taking pictures of it, like I said, for the 24-hour cross stitch challenge, so I could share my progress on that, and it kind of evolved into something that I made for Instagram, which I'd like to share with you guys, and it's just a progress video, shows completing it. So I like to see stuff like that, so I wanted to share it with you guys. Wasn't that neat? Yeah, so now I'm going to show you guys what my finish itself. I didn't take it to the framers yet because, I wouldn't have it for the video. It takes a couple weeks at the framers, but that's the way I kind of see it finished, is as a framed object. So here we go. Let's see. I'll just hold it up so you can see the whole thing here. And I love it. This is so cute. I mean, I haven't done too many Plum Street samplers. You know, I'm not too much into cutesy cottagey stuff, but I thought this was just very sweet. I love the statement at the bottom, of course, and I stitched this on 36 count Legacy from Picture This Plus. And yeah, I personalized it for my family. You know, there's my husband, that's me. So we're just standing outside of our colonial house, and yeah, I love it. So I was saving this and hoping that this would be something that I could do with my my Stars and Stripes mystery box that I got from Color and Cotton just a day or two ago. And so but I didn't really, I think the fabric that came with the box was kind of too, I don't know. It was a navy blue. And like I said, I kind of like to have this framed rather than finish it with some sort of fabric. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about that box and what I'm going to do with it in a few minutes. But I wanted to share this with you guys. You know, I stitched up the pattern really fast. I have no intention of doing anything with it again, so I decided that I would pass the stash on this one. So I'll show you, this is the pattern for Peace, Love, and Purpose that I have, and it's not marked or anything. And let's see, I'll read a little bit about this. The stitch count is 113 by 100, and it uses various Weeks Dye Works mostly, but I used just what I had in my stash. I think there was a couple things like cocoa and whitewash that I did have, but other than that, I think the called for fabric is Wren from Picture This Plus, and like I said, I used Legacy, which is a little bit darker, but it turned out really, really cute. So if you would like this pattern, just leave a comment and tell me what your favorite patriotic pattern is so I can pick something up for the next one. So if you're interested in picking up a copy of the pattern, just leave your comment. Like I said, tell me your favorite patriotic pattern that you suggest for me, and I will pick the winner randomly in about 2 weeks. That's about July 7th. So you have until then to enter. So the patriotic stitching hasn't stopped yet. I had a new start. You might have seen this one already. I'm a big Lindy Stitches fan, and she released a couple new patriotic pieces that I had to pick up. And so I started one called A Stitch for Sweet Freedom, which is the cutest, sweetest pattern I've ever seen. And she says, and I love this, that it fits in an 8x10 frame, you know, when you stitch it on 32 count fabric. So I am, you know, I'm all for that, you know. So this is something I started after that Plum Street piece, and this is where I've gotten so far. This is actually the needle minder from the Stars and Stripes box. See, it's got George Washington and Betsy Ross in it. I'll zoom in on that, but okay. Now, what everyone likes about this piece is that it's an opportunity to stitch someone that's a little bit different skin tones than you normally see in most cross-stitch patterns. And I thought, you know, diversity and everything about it is just great, you know. So I started it with what I had on hand. This, I think, is Uniform Blue. This is a Color and Cotton Holly Berry, and this is, I think it's the same color that I was using in Peace, Love, and Purpose, called Jaybird, I think. So, Weeks Dye Works. So, that's what I've got so far, and I'm really looking forward to working with down that skirt. That's going to be so beautiful. But if you haven't seen it, I'll make sure I'll put a picture in there for you. But that's turning out really good. Oh, and the fabric is on Color and Cotton. This is actually from the Christmas box last year, the limited edition. And yeah, it's just a neutral, you know, a yellowish neutral. I thought it would go pretty well. So that's all. So that's what I've been doing with patriotic stitching this time of year, and I'll probably work on her until, you know, a little bit, I don't know, July 4th. Keep her around. She's going to be my patriotic piece that I'm going to have in my stash whenever I feel up to it. That's what I'm going to choose from. So the summer has gotten me in some kind of mood. You know, it's hot, the kids are at home, and I just feel kind of like retreating sometimes, you know. I mean, just going to my stitchy spot, turning on the air conditioning, and staying there, you know. So what have I been doing? What have I gotten into myself into since all this? Well, it's been a little bit of full coverage stitching. And it first started because I was trying to get back into my Stitch 9 projects that I had chosen at the beginning of the year. And one of them is supposed to be a gift for one of my aunts. So I've been putting in some time on that, and it really kind of got me into this full coverage mode, and which I'll talk about a little bit more later. I have an aunt who is just in love with greyhounds. She loves everything about greyhounds. She has 3 greyhounds, I think, at the moment, and she asked me if I would consider doing a piece for her, because she does have a couple of works of art of greyhounds and she would like to add to that. So she asked if I would stitch a greyhound for her, and so we picked a pattern out that she really liked, and I've been working on it some this year, and I'll show you guys what I finally got enough progress that I felt like I really wanted to share it, you know what I mean? Because it, you know, I hate just showing projects that look like a blob of color, but this one is actually starting to look like something. You can actually see an ear and an eye. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see. This is on 36 count linen. The kit is from Yoda's Cross Stitch off of Etsy, and I swapped out the Ada for some linen from Picture This Plus, and it's Bramble 36 count, and I think it's perfect. It just kind of looks like a portrait background, you know, and yeah, this is 15 or 20 shades of gray, and it's going pretty well, you know. Just the problem with the pattern is because it's just the shape of the head, and there's not a real it's all one page. It's like folded in one page like a big memorabilia, and it's on 2 sides like that. So it's not print out pages like I'm used to, you know, that format. So it's taken me a while to find a way to kind of organize myself and get it under control, especially with this huge piece of paper that I've gotten I'm working with. But I like the way it's coming out. It's very photorealistic, which is what she wanted. And yeah, I've stitched in grayscale before, and you know, I think that's a great place to start if you aren't sure about so many colors when you want and try full coverage stitching. Try a grayscale or black and white or sepia tone, you know, something like that, and that'll reduce your color scheme, you know, to a workable thing thing. So I'm hoping to have that pretty much finished by the end of the year, you know, but I don't mind if it goes into next year either. She said she wasn't in a hurry to get it, and I said great, because I'm not in a hurry to stitch it. So but actually, you know, the more and more work I get done on it, I like doing it more, so that's good. But what happened to me after I started doing some full coverage stitching? Well, I refound my love for Heaven and Earth designs. Okay, I've had a couple of starts over the past couple years on some Hades, but you know, I didn't know what I was doing, and my efforts kind of, either I didn't like the fabric, you know, it's just different things. So I decided first that I was going to restart a mini that I had started a few years ago during Mania. I think it was 2017, or I had started it before Mania, I think, but I was stitching on it during Mania. I know that because I have a video. So I recently acquired a large amount of Hardanger fabric from another stitcher, which I am incredibly grateful for, and I'm saying it's a lot of it, and it's on a 5-yard bolt, I mean a 5-foot bolt, so it's, you know, it's perfect for doing full coverage and large cross-stitch projects like that. And you know, when you have the fabric to something, you got the threads, you know, there's really no reason why not to start or restart something. So I'm going to show you guys something. This is Spirit of the Dragonfly. The art is by Carol Cavallaris, but it's charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And I had started this on, actually, you know, I think I have it right here. I could show you my original start and how messed up it is. But I originally started it like the instructions say to, or recommend, on 25 count with 2 strands over 1, and it was just too bulky and I didn't like it that way. So I knew that was one of the first things that I knew if I was going to be successful at a Heaven and Earth design, it had to be with 1 strand and not 2. And I've been finding, you know, that's number 1 is my recommendation. If you're going to do parking and all these other things, use 1 strand, not 2 strands, especially if you're doing full crosses. I mean, if you're doing tent stitch, I could see why you'd want to use 2 strands, but if you're just doing cross stitch, try to use a, you know, a combination where you can use 1 strand, because it makes it a lot easier. And these projects get very, very heavy and thick, you know, as you go along and add so much thread to it. So anyway, that's just my preference. So this is a restart of Spirit of the Dragonfly, and it's on 22 count Hardanger, and this is a mini. And first I'm showing this project to you first because this is not really as much as what I've been working on as something else, but I have been learning how to grid. I don't like to do it in the first place, but I have been gridding, and I gridded the outline of the whole piece, and I started gridding the whole thing, but then I was like, no, that's not happening for now. So I went back and tried to do the first page. So this is my start. I'm just showing you guys on this because I am, you know, it's not a lot of confetti actually. There's a whole bulk. The first page on this one is almost all one color, that cream color, and it's going into the second and third pages. So that's just a brief thing. I only spent a day or two doing that, but it really whetted my appetite. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Is starting over my Heaven and Earth designs got me into more Heaven and Earth designs, and there was recently a 50% off sale on their patterns, so you know, I got involved in the sale a little bit. But it's okay because I have a wonderful new start. I started my first full-size Hade because, you know, I had access to the fabric, and I love it so far, so I'm gonna spend a few minutes to show you what I've been doing with that. This is my latest start, which is a Heaven and Earth Designs project called A Stitch in Time. And you may have seen this one because I think Heaven and Earth Designs uses a version of it as their logo. But it is a beautiful piece of art by Amy Stewart. And it's got all these little scenes of stitchers throughout time and floss and all sorts of things. And it's so colorful and I love it. But you can tell that there's an awful lot of confetti going on at the beginning. And I've been parking threads all over the place, although I'm happy with where they are, and you know, like I said, it's kind of necessary with all that confetti. But this is the first page. I gridded it by itself. That's the strategy on this one, is I'm gonna grid one page with the sulky sliver and stitch the page, and then I'm going to pull out the grid lines from that page and then grid the next page. You know, I thought it would be too much to just try to grid the whole entire thing and take all the grid lines out at the end. So it started up pretty quickly. You know, like I said, they had patterns on sale after the last sale, so that's the best time, of course, to buy your Haid patterns, is when they're on sale. But this project is, I think, 725 stitches wide, which is, I mean, it's hard to think about. And I really don't think that if you think about it too much, you're gonna waste your stitching time. But I've got a pretty good start going on it, and this is what I really plan to try to take a crack at. You know, to get a page finished. It's still going to take me a while. This is 3 days of work, and I think it's a little over 1,200 stitches or something like that, 1,300 maybe. These are 10 by 10 blocks of stitches. So yeah, it's flowers so far. I made a grid of the pages using an app. I think it was called Grid app. And that's really been helping me visualize how it's all going to break down. And I'm looking forward to working on it. So I think the summer is a perfect time to really dig into some full coverage cross stitch if that's what you're interested in, because, you know, the weather, you know, it's so hot outside. A lot of times you don't want to do a whole lot during the heat of the day, or at least me, you know. So staying inside, staying cool, and working on some stitching is, you know, a really good idea to me. So anyway, I'm so glad you guys watched today and saw what I was up to. But I'm glad I got to catch up with you guys today and show you what I've been doing. Don't forget to comment for the Plum Street Samplers chart if you're interested, and I'll catch up with you guys in a few weeks. Bye.